it's quite interesting. We're back on the Euroforum, and um, very many people have really seen new strange faces. And tonight it's me, the new face, just standing in for a brother who's really having some short holiday. The fact that in Norway they're having Father's Day, uh, and then Sweden, I guess, also it's Father's Day. In Denmark, unfortunately, it's not. It was in June 5th, should be Father's Day. But in Stockholm, I mean, in Sweden, Norway, probably I think that's why my brother has also managed to be on to uh, a celebration of the Father's Day. So, as a man in Denmark, I have to stand in because Euroforum is another sister forum media platform that I'm going to be always availing myself. So, why not to just avail myself here and then stand in for him? But all in all, you're welcome. And a host today is going to be John Remy Smoggy, and have my guests. The topic of discussion today is going to be depression, which entirely, as Afropins, we're having this issue, which is a big deal, not easily identified, but at times we feel it. Depression is a question of discussion tonight, and it's quite sensitive. Many people have been, or up to now, still having wounds that are invisible, mentally disturbed. At times we cannot feel it. We claim it stress. At times we say mood swings, anxiety, we are lonely, sadness. But who knows? It can drive us into depression. Tonight discussion is really fully engineered and powered by a great panel of discussants, of which you have one risk of Norway, and she's dealing with children, uh, teenagers, and then the one only, I'll call him Superman by virtue of the size, Mr. Fahad from Sweden, Stockholm. But I would like to say, they say, ladies and gentlemen, even though now the script kind of almost going to change, because that element of ladies and gentlemen started in England. Before it was it was gentlemen and ladies. But when the Queen came in, the game changed. So they said ladies and gentlemen. So I'll start this time around by following the protocol by saying hello to Mr. Fahad and just introduce yourself briefly, and then we go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Fahad Liombia, and I live in Sweden, Stockholm. I've been living in Sweden for the last, I think, 33 years. I came here when I was only 3 years old, studying, growing up, and I was also working. I work with youth, which have problems with the criminality, the drug abusers, and actually even some mental health, just to try to get them back into society as good as I can. So that's briefly about me.
It's quite interesting. Otherwise, how is Stockholm?
Stockholm is good so far. The winter has not come yet. We had very great weather yesterday, but I think also it's an affection of the global warming. So in the future, we should be worried. But yesterday, we enjoyed.
It's quite amazing, and that's really so good. Yes. And I'll just go straight. I get a super ticket to Norway to find Lady Rizky. Hello, lady, are you there?
I'm there. Okay, hello, everybody. First and foremost, happy Father's Day to all fathers out there. You are appreciated, regardless whichever country is celebrating Father's Day today. We also honor fathers. I'm honoring fathers all over the world. My name is Riziki. I've been living in Norway the past plus 25 years, and I'm originally from Uganda, Iganga, Uganda, to be exact. What should I say? At the moment, I work in a full job, actually in the district psychiatry with adults, but also I work with teenagers. I work with families as a bridge builder, and also conversations where where I'm not a mediator, but I'm a bridge builder. There is a difference between that. And I also cook food. And here I am. I'm very delighted to be here.
That's what amazing. To the viewers, we all welcome. First and foremost, I would like to say appreciate those who have really been participating, giving their comments, sharing on our different platforms on Euroforum, on TikTok, we're there, Euroforum, on YouTube, Euroforum, also different platforms where, and also regards to those in our WhatsApp group. I just respect everyone. But for now, we shall just go straight on to our topic of discussion. Truth be told, we're having a topic which is a little bit sensitive, and we've all been there. The question at hand right now is to find a better understanding of depression and its impact, so that it makes us easier to see how we can help ourselves and even our beloved ones to go through such situations. As European, as Afropeans, it will be mostly the major focus here, because come to think about it, we leave our motherland and then we come into a foreign country or foreign countries where we are with the different challenges, we encounter different experiences, of which I always respect Africans or all foreigners who just, surface into a new foreign land. So you still at times stuck with the social, political, or economic affiliations back home, which you just come and bring them here, and then it's not easy to balance the two. That's why we decide to look tonight. That's why today we want to look into the entire depression element, which we may not even finish right now, but we're just going on little tips of it, because it's a topic which is really so versatile. It's so vast to just accomplish it. But for now, just a simple question on how you look at depression. Madame Liz, straight I go to you. I don't know why I'm calling it Madame Reese, but hopefully you won't take it so personal. Yeah. By virtue of depression, how do you encounter it? If really one wanted to say, is depression related to mood swings, stress, anxiety, loneliness, or sadness? How do you really package depression to you?
I would say all the above, but I would also like to differentiate sadness, because sadness and because when you're depressed, you can be sad, but you can also be grieving, because there is a difference when you're sad because you're grieving and when you're sad because you have a depression. And it's very easy in today's society for somebody, or even youngsters, to say that, oh, I'm so depressed. Oh, I'm so depressed. But to be really have a depression, because it is a very serious illness, one must undergo some medical checkup. And during that checkup, there is a lot of things that have to be checked to see that in order to see that one really has a depression. So when you're depressed, you can be anxious. So though it is just another disorder too, because you can be depressed and then you can have an anxiety disorder, because depression is also a disorder.
So basically it's a mental disorder.
I would say mental illness. Disorder also means that something is not in order. So when you're ill, something is not in order. So it is a disorder too.
Okay, I get it. You are one of the persons who deal with, the teenagers. Do they also encounter depression?
They do. They do.
Have you gotten some experience?
Yes, I do. And I would say we are lucky, because before this, I had to talk to a doctor friend in Uganda and to talk about how it is in Uganda, because there is already what we know, how it's stigmatizing, how it's looked upon, and how the resources are few because we only, at the moment, we only have one referral hospital. So in Uganda. So I was trying just to get a picture of how it is. I wouldn't say, now when I sit here, I'm not here as an expert. I'm here somebody who works with people who are having depression and who we help with both medication and coping skills so that they can have, they can live live better. And then I would also like to say that it is, depression is treatable.
So meaning that you can take medication for that. I thought at times, will it take you into an element of going for real medication, going to hospitals? And
when it is severe, that it stops you from doing what you're like, doing the normal things like getting up, caring about your hygiene, eating, going to work. When it gets so far that you don't care anymore, and you already have gone through, because at times you can have these symptoms of depression. They can show when you have a deficiency of vitamins and minerals too. So that's why one really has to undergo thorough medical checkup, so that, and even when you have like thyroid problems with the hormones, you can also have those signs of depression. So all those have to be put aside first. That's why you have to go through thorough medical checkup, and then they found out. And if you don't have those ones, then with medication, it's not easy, because it can give a reaction for maybe the first 2 weeks, or maybe you can take 2 weeks to see a reaction, and then it stops working. So when, like where I work today, I would like to go there because that is where I have most experience from, and also I've worked with children. What is most important is to stabilize eating, sleeping, and daily activities, and not only focusing on medication, because medication does not work on its own. And the main aim is that one is not supposed to go on medication forever. It is only for stabilization. Although there are some people who can have like a reback. What is it called? A reback? When you have it again, what is it called?
Oh, yeah.
It's a reback. Yeah.
No,
but
okay.
children and the teenagers, they also can have a depression. And we are lucky here in Norway because there is a program for that. And then we have like a children and teenage psychiatry, whereby maybe at school they can be able to notice some differences, and then they can call in some parents. And at times maybe it can be issues with the parents that also cause that, or even it can just be bullying. It can be because with depression, it's about how you feel and how it affects everything that you do. So you can find somebody whom you feel, or even a teenager whom you say, oh, that one has everything, has it all. And so what should be wrong? But just the matter that the person has it all is an issue itself.
No, okay. Thank you very much for that. I'll just want to know some little voice from Brother Fahad. We're talking about depression, Brother Fahad. And my sister is talking about teenagers also being affected with it. Yes. Is there a situation where we can look at depression as something as genetical?
In my experience, no, but I think that the situation which is coming from home is very common to teenagers or to youth to have depression. For example, if you have a family that, if I'm going to speak in terms like for us foreigners moving to another country, you have two parents, maybe they have some opportunity to leave Uganda and then come here to Sweden, and they have so many relatives, and they have so many people that they have to take care of financially, economically, and also maybe most of the parents that moved here, they maybe had very well educated jobs. They come into another country and they don't get that opportunity. Maybe they're looking for jobs, and all those things can affect children when they see the parents that maybe the parents even have a depression, but because of we don't speak about it in our culture, it's very stigmatized, and you as a parent, you have to only carry on, and you put the burden on that one to the children. So the children go in a hostile home, and then it could affect them, because most of us growing up here, we lived in an area that we had people from maybe every countries in the world, and those countries were third world countries, and you see that the parents are struggling, and us children are also struggling. We see affection on the parents, and we start to develop depression in the young ages. And they made a study. I can read, and I'm sorry, but I can't say exactly why I saw it. But they say that a child between around 2 years old up to 12 years old, everything that happens in the home, the children start to process in it like it's their own fault. So if you hear the parents say, "Oh, we have it so bad. I moved here because of you. You have to make a bright future," all those things, it affects the children to be as good in school, and the pressure that parents can put on the children can lead up to develop some depression. So yes.
So basically, it's not genetical, but it can be transferred. The pressure can be transferred to the next generation.
Yes, the pressure, and even just to hear arguments between parents or between adults as a children, it can affect you in the small ways. But if it happens on daily basis, and then you start to develop that, you transfer that. I don't think it's genetical. Not in my experience, and the situation I've been working with the youth, I don't think it's genetical, but it transfers, of course.
Yes. Are you working with the youth? How do you see parents' involvement, or is there any other avenues through which society has tried to chip in to help the youth in case they find, it's a government responsibility?
Yes, as in Sweden, society we have the children's BUP, I think it's the children's psychological treatment. We have all that. But the most important thing is that if you have, as a parent, if you have a children that you see that show signs of depression, you have to be involved. You have to be there as a parent. Many parents, they don't believe in the depression. They don't believe that the youth have depression. They compare with the youth maybe in Uganda. They say, but you have everything here. Why should you be depressed? Why should you feel it? So it's very important that the parents are trying to help their children together with society, not just leave the children up to the society.
A little bit, because, you're talking about our parents, almost pushing it now to to the teenagers. We have everything is available. Yes. Just take me through some little stages. We're talking about something connected to depression. What could lead us into that? Are there certain levels through which one can be totally deep into depression? And what might be the signs to tell that one is really depressed? Let me say it again. What would be the stages that can lead that one can really identify someone that actually so and so Fahad is really depressed? How can we self-check ourselves that actually we are depressed?
The point that Rizik made earlier, when you see that people stop doing all normal, ordinary things that are good for them. If you have a friend or a relative, you see that they're starting to the daily basis routines that they don't take care of their personal hygiene, they don't sleep well, they don't eat well. If they are stressed, that's the early stages. You can see that maybe something is not really right in that area. So we have to try to speak with them, to talk to them, to actually ask them, how are you? How is life? Not because in ordinary life, you never hear people say, if I meet a new people, or meet a friend, how are you? Always you say fine. You can never hear people, if you're a colleague or a relative, you call them and you say, how are you? And they say, no, life is not good. That's very not so common in society, but you have to take your time and actually listen to them. What are they going through? Because you can see those signs. If they start to distance themselves to you or something, then normally something is not really right. And you have to, as a person, as a friend or as a relative, you have to start to engage in their person's life to see what is wrong and how can I be supportive to what you're going through.
That's really so interesting. Basically, we know depression, like I said, is very hard to identify. someone, for some reasons, certain people tend to hide, and then you cannot tell because they tend to backfire. I've been running through some social media posts, and then I happened to pick one of them, and from one sister from Finland. She's called Sami and Samantha. I think she's from Finland, and she says we often blame others, not knowing what they're going through. That's from social media. And then we have one called one gentleman called Ibubo Praise. He says, people are silently dying of depression, but they can't tell nobody for the fear of gossiping about them instead of helping them. Then my question comes back to my sister Rizik. When do we see social media becoming very suicidal, or when does it really reflect one's element of being depressed? Is there any situation where social media has played a role to either depress or to be a solution to a depression? Recently?
For me, I would say both. Because first and foremost, in social media, although it is contagious, but at the same time, that I believe there is a lot of learning there. Because there are very many platforms, and if one is lucky enough to get on the right platform, there is a lot of learning, and then one can even feel that one is an expert. And also in social media, there is also a lot of copying, like duplicating. One wants to imitate. You want to imitate what others are doing, but you don't know the reason behind whatever they're doing. So with that, things can escalate. Yeah, because people deal with things differently, and things affect people differently. Something that can affect me positively can affect you negatively. So
there's one other one called Ngo. It was 3 days, if I'm not mistaken. It was called. It's in Uganda. Called Eddie Ngovi. In his words, he was saying that very many people are really expressing themselves with depression on social media, and from different comments, very many people were like, "It depends how people use social media." So my query is, social media, can it be a remedy to one who's depressed?
If it can be
a remedy, a solution to.
I don't know, because remedy, what is remedy? And like treatment, it can. But one thing I know is that it also makes not only creating awareness, but also one having the guts to, let's say, to be bold enough to say that I'm not alone, or have the feeling of consolation that, okay, I'm not alone. This and this is getting help. Maybe I should get help. Or this and this is happening to me. Maybe it's the time then I should take a checkup for myself.
And how have you seen your experience with your teenagers you're dealing with in situations like this on social media?
Oh, at the moment I'm dealing with adults.
Oh, okay. yeah.
And when I dealt with the teenagers, it was mostly trauma. And then a trauma approach is different from other approaches.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's what an interesting topic, which we are just going to be beating here, and then putting your comments actually to the viewers is really much interesting. And the more you put your comments, the more you'll be engaging and making the topic more interesting. And keep sharing, give us the comments. We salute everyone who is also on our YouTube channel, because we're also live. And with the Facebook audience, we just love your contribution. And I want to go back to Brother Fahad. There was a statement which was released by police that was on the 3rd of November. Malawi police and they were trying to, to give a certain. There was a certain scenario that happened, and it read like it was an engagement of certain one girl, one lady called Mary Fuller, a 24-year-old, and she lived in the state. I think the city is called Lipogwe, something like that. She committed suicide, and the issue was she was depressed. And our involvement here was with a relationship which ended unexpectedly. A boyfriend just decided to call it off. And she thought she was strong enough. She realized that she could not handle it anymore. She managed to go to hospital. She saw some counselors. But on the course, while she was continuing, surprisingly, she saw the boyfriend with a new girlfriend who was pregnant, which was literally, they are expecting actually a kid. So meaning that all along there was something which was going along in their relationship. But the police, just went to social media, and then they saw something little, which was reading that we were meant to be, but you failed me. Allow me to go. Days after, they saw her hanging herself, and she had committed suicide. So I go back to my brother, Fahad. Having listened to that.
Yes.
It was quite a sad story to me.
Yeah.
And then this is a time I really want to know, how would you really come to help? And how would you, that's why I was asking you, how would you identify one who is now going into that sorry state? And then how would you approach and help them? Because normally, like I read to you, one of the, it's called Abibo Praise, who say that often people are silent. They wouldn't love to tell, because by the time they tell, people will just go on their backs and we gossip.
Yes.
So to me, after reading all the social media situations, my question is, how would you identify that someone really needs help? And as a friend, what steps would you take?
Okay. First and foremost, I have to address the issue that we're doing now. We have to take the issue on depression in a very serious manners, because it's a thing that happens everywhere, every day, and can affect anyone. Nobody is immune to become depressed. And that's the first thing. We have to talk about it. We have to address the issues. We have to make it very normal in society, because that's like the one in the comments said, that people are afraid to speak up, people are afraid to talk. And I think the society we live in today, with social media, with everything, we have we want to show the world that every day is so good, but every day is not good. If I have a friend in social media, if I just look at the social media, I can think that they're living the perfect life. And me, myself, I have issues. Sometimes my marriage maybe doesn't go very well, and I see that everybody else is doing well. That is a problem that we see today, and that can cause me to don't want to speak up. That's the first thing. The second thing I'm thinking about is that sometimes it's hard to explain to someone that are in depression that things can get better. But as a friend or a relative or something, you have to stand there and keep trying to tell them that things are getting better. This is a phase. There is help you can get in different ways. Maybe some professional helps, maybe speak to someone, but you have to be there and always to speak with them that things can be better. This is a thing that you are suffering from, but you can be healed from that. depression. And that's life is like that. Sometimes unexpected things happen in life. Sometimes people die, they break up, things move on, but it's so hard to because I believe that because of the society we live in today, and we're not speaking about this issue to take it in serious manners, it's very hard to identify someone. And I think that social media has a very big part of that. We are always trying to make our life appear better in the social media.
It's true.
Yeah, and that's a problem, because before social media, there was a time before social media. If I had something I want to share with someone, I pick up the phone, or just I walk to someone and say, "Hello, can we have a cup of tea and talk?" As we say in Uganda.
Yeah.
In that matter, that's you get to know that interaction helps you to understand what people are going through. But now we think we believe in ourselves just because of looking in Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, and we see the pictures, the life people live in. We tend to believe that is how they live their life, and then I can look at myself. I have friends and relatives on social media, and I see them on social media. So everything is good with them. Maybe I shouldn't call. I should call next Sunday, not today. Maybe I shouldn't go visit them because they have their life, but nobody knows what's going through their minds and their feelings. So I think the main two things in my long answer is not to try to address the issue of depression. Depression it happens everywhere, can happen to everyone, and it's not a taboo. We have to speak about it. We have to talk about it. We have to teach our children about it from the young age, and we have to try to, when we see that people are depressed, that we can only be as good persons to tell them that you're going through something, there is help, and things can get better.
That's quite interesting. I love the answer. Yes, on our social media, I'm going straight now to Facebook, where I'm seeing my brother from Norway. We're having the one Abu Matovo is saying one comment from down our stats, which is interesting. He says in Luganda, nga oyaka, it says risky ngo oyaka, ulinga umunia gugunde mata. Well, it's quite interesting. Those are motivating, comments that can help us, to kill depression without knowing. We have Steve Matovo says, is bad once. Depression is bad. I once put shoes inside the fridge. Oh, wow. Those are the side effects, I think. You go berserk mostly, and then goes ahead by saying depression is an illness that involves the body, mood, and the wallet. Talk about the wallet. It's quite interesting. Matov goes ahead by saying that depression symptoms associated with evil spirits. That's a check. I never really know. He once had it on a TV show, TV show, talking to him. Okay, we go back to my sister, Rizk. You've heard from the one Matovu claiming that depression symptoms is associated to evil spirits. Can you please enlighten us on that, if you really feel you're in line with him?
First and foremost, thank you, Mr. Matovo, for the compliment. I'm taking that with both my hands.
Yeah.
And about evil spirits, that is, of course, what I hear, and still from where I come from.
Which one are you taking with both your hands? That Oyakanga?
The one of Kuyaka.
Okay.
But also I can thank the light too. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But where I come from, yes, that's what they say, because it is unheard. It's not talked about. It's something. It's supposed to be back there. And if something happens whereby the people around you don't understand you, they'll call you names. And if you're lucky, maybe they'll take you to the local witch doctor and they'll do some rituals on you. For me, until recently, there is this set called psychose, when you're in psychosis. At home still, we're still calling these local doctors and we're still, but that is a state whereby a person is possessed, some kind of possessed with another voice. It could be a child, it could be an evil person telling the person to do stuff. And that, I think that is what Abu is referring to. So for me, I've allowed myself to look at it with both eyes, whereby I see it now as an illness, and not as who says or something that which somebody has been witchcraft. But I know the belief is where I come from, and it is unfortunate.
Wow. So being the fact that it's an illness, so you advise people to take some pills for that. Anyway, Reese, I like the way you approach your area, but we're talking about a depression, and if you come to think about it, it's a major depression disorder. At times, doctors, they tend to call it, you doctors, you tend to call it, is it MDD, major depression disorder? Yes. So yeah. There was an experience of someone who was saying that he was in the metro with some brother, is a black. He didn't know him actually. Then, out of the blue, it was towards Christmas. Actually, it was towards Christmas. They were in the metro going. He just said, bandeke, bananyo buji. When the train is just silent. So a brother comes suddenly. I'm trying to relate that mental element you're talking about, where you're being possessed, as they claim, yet it's someone trying to speak loud. So you can chip in, yeah.
There is a difference when you have a lot of disorder in your head and there are a lot of voices. And then I believe that most of us have them, because even with me, when Mr. Fahad or you are speaking, I'm speaking alone here, and and I could choose to say it loud. And at times it could be disturbing things that are in my head, or maybe not disturbing things, or not unpleasant things. But here, when we come to the state I was talking about, it's when you have a bad feeling about things around you, and the possession you have is about the things around you, and it's not only coming and going, it is constant there, telling you to do things, or telling you, maybe, for example, somebody who is suicidal, somebody can be convinced that is the right thing because of unworthiness, or maybe not the feeling of unworthiness. For somebody who has psychosis, it can be a voice telling you that if you go kill yourself, you'll go to heaven, for example. And that it puts the belief in you, whereby this person really wants to do that. And that is just one of the examples. Another example is maybe somebody feels like they're God when they're in that state. And then it could be even nightmares can also bring out such nightmares. Yeah, a trauma that people have experienced when they were kids, because there's some people whereby when they were teenagers they could not remember anything, and then when they grow older, these memories come, they start living these memories again, and they are waking up, and then they don't know where these memories are coming from, and then they can be so disturbing. And then in a system whereby one can get help, then it's easy. In a system where one cannot get help, then it's very unfortunate. And then for me, I feel that we should be very careful when saying the term depression and calling people depressed, because for a person to be called for it to be called a depression, one must have undergone checkup to really ensure that by a specialist. And then about identification, it's not easy to identify, but just checking on the people, on our loved ones, even our neighbors, and even just a smile can make a difference. And then I know that it's not easy for friends, or even me, if I have something that is really bad, I will not tell my closest. But just telling these people around us whom we see that they're going through something they're going through a hard time, we can tell them, I understand it's hard and maybe you don't want to tell me, but please talk to somebody. Just talking to somebody. I have teenage boys, not even teenagers, they're more than teenagers, because they're the young 18. I always tell them that it is important to talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. Like, I also have siblings. I can tell them that I see that my son. Can you please take him out and talk to him and just don't start looking for mistakes, but just take him out and maybe he will open up. Because talking about problems, you don't have to go and say, yeah, but I feel you're like this. No, even just like Mr. Fahad said, offering a cup of tea. You're like, take the person out, go for a walk. All those are things that can help, preventative methods that can help avoid deeper depression. Because we can all go into moments whereby things are not okay. But also it's about owning what we are really going through. And with that, you need help to be able to learn coping skills.
Okay. You're talking about, calling for help. In Norway, where exactly, if, for example, I find myself in this situation, what are the steps? What steps can I take? Who are the people to approach away from my family members? Are there some other avenues we can just reach to? Should I just approach my doctor? Because I'm looking at this situation where depression hits you differently. The people who are separated because of relationship issues, so it's divorce. Kids themselves, they get affected because of exactly what Brother Fahad had said, that, this depression can hit the elders, then it affects also the kids. People with jobs, they have also been affected. They don't have jobs and then it's coming in like that. So my question is, in Norway, away from, friends coming in, which friends at times may not have your time. We're talking about Europe. People don't have your time. That's why we're getting lonely. But which avenues can I really take if I don't involve my friends?
Oh, I just want to say one thing, that although in Europe we have all the help we are supposed to have regarding these mental disorders, it is where also people get the least help too.
Is it?
Because the least help.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy for a person to admit first and foremost that there is something wrong with them. Yes. And then, like, for example, if you don't care about your job, they'll send you a resignation letter, and you're in that state where you don't care. You'll continue just unless you've really gone to the doctor, and then the doctor will admit you, because we have like an acute ambulance team whereby they go around and talk to people. But unless you go in such a network, because that when you're really down, somebody really has to help you take those steps to go to get help. Because when you're in that state, we have very many people who are not getting any help. Because as long as you're not a danger to others and being a danger to others, then somebody must have recognized you. And if you're a danger, yes, and if you're a danger to yourself, somebody must have recognized you. But if you just pull away and you don't have anybody, then you're you're done. But if you're lucky enough, and then you go to the doctor. Yeah, you're lucky enough, and then you go to the doctor. And going to the doctor, you also have to, maybe the doctor has a history from before. But still, it is a process. It is a process. So most of the time, to really get help, then you have to do something drastic, like an attempt to hurt yourself. Then when you make that attempt, that is like a cry of help, because if somebody really wants to commit suicide, you cannot stop them. But if it is an attempt that is not successful, maybe it went wrong, yes, but in most attempts, it is a cry for help. And then that will give the person the opportunity to get the right help needed.
Oh, yeah. I get it.
So I don't
anyway, we are seeing one other from the Facebook here. We're having one Mary. Is saying, Mary Riombia is saying that depression is real and people should talk about it. Get a friend or a relative you trust, then you go ahead. Yeah, actually, that's one of the remedy that Brother Fahad gave us. Still to Brother Fahad, back to you. I've seen you're one person who is involved so much into sports by virtue of your physique. You're looking... It's very, very serious. And I guess I wonder which type of sport you do, if you don't mind.
When I used to play, but in my younger ages, I used to play a lot of football, and then now I just work out to keep fit. But I always had sports in my life, actually.
Okay. Because I know I've been watching many times. You've been doing challenges to kick away depression with the push-ups. You do 25, of which I think I should also start doing that. I challenge my friends. Who knows? So, question is, would exercises actually be of use if one is really feeling down or one is depressed? Would you recommend? And how can it be of service, actually?
Yes, of course, of exercise, because as human beings, we are physical people that should not sit around for 8 hours on a computer, then go home. We should have to exercise because of our body and our minds. But I think also that having a balanced lifestyle is very good, because sleeping is important, eating well is important, exercising is important, especially now in during these dark months of the year.
Oh, yeah.
We don't get the right sunlight that we have.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to point the issue that Mr. Rizk was talking about, because depression is a process. You don't wake up one day feeling, you can feel
depressed. Yeah.
You can don't wake up on the day that's the process is very long. And to come to the conclusion to depression, many things in life happen. Many things with you happens in your body, in your mind, and in your feelings. And that's why I think that before it ends up to depression, people around you can see that you're changing habits, you're not social anymore, you're not happy, and have that as a friend or a relative, I can step in and say, what is going on? Because many people that don't address the depression issues maybe don't go to the doctor, maybe doesn't seek that help that is acquired. They're starting to self-medicate themselves with drug abusers. Many people, I work a lot with youth with drug abusers that have been so for many years. And when we take away the drugs and start to talk to them and start to speak what was going on, and then we can see that it was maybe a way to get away from depression or trauma. Because in life, you can be something in your life happens exactly like Rizk was pointing on, and then it comes back to you later, like a PTSD. Feeling of PTSD that maybe I was abused as a child, and then 20 years later, I getting into a situation that I become that little 5-year-old child that was abused by the parents or their siblings or relatives. Everything comes back. I can get the feeling, I can get the mood and everything, and that explosion of emotions, it becomes very hard to handle. And sometimes drug abuse or alcohol abuse is very common with people because of the depression. It's very, very common.
Okay. I love the fact that you told us that the more we talk about it, we're trying to let people know that they should not die out of, depression, that we should keep talking about it. Yes. Topics like this should really so much surface every time. Back on social media, we have one, David Sewanyana. He's saying that from my experience, I think lack of sense of belonging and accomplishment is eating most people in Europe, including myself, especially when you are quite new. What do you do? He's saying what to do about it. I am not too sure. Actually, he's trying to say. Let me rephrase it again, actually. He's saying that from my experience, I think I lack a sense of belonging, and accomplishment is eating me most. People in Europe, including myself, especially when I am quite new. When I'm quite new, what to do about it? I'm not so sure. So actually, he's trying to look at himself. I think the element of loneliness here in Europe, mostly for we the Afropeans, I think it really eating us up. Look at the experience of people who are in the camps. There are very many people actually who are really depressed, and it's really so hard to know. But like you said, the more we talk about it, maybe it can be of great use. So, Brother Fahad, in Sweden, you have society. Actually, when you come to the population of Afropeans in the Scandinavian here, Sweden is really having a big number of the Afropeans. Mostly, I'll take my case on Uganda. We have a lot of Ugandans in Sweden, more than Norway, more than Finland, more than Denmark. So is our society of any use? Because we tend to meet for barbecues, we tend to meet for different, occasions, functions. Are they of any purpose for any depression?
Yes, I believe that very strongly. When I grew up, we had many small communities that where people meet, just to speak your native language, just to have someone you can relate to, just to meet with people that go through things that you are going through.
So you kind of get that sense of belonging.
Yes, the sense of belonging.
I think now you're trying to answer Brother Edward. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I think that has been so useful for us growing up in here, because we have many of the youth, the kids from the people that moved here in the 80s and in the 90s, we're still in contact. We are now the second generation that meet up, we speak, we can address the same issues of being a child to an immigrant, to also being an immigrant, to try to make it in the society. And and I think for me, it has been so very helpful, because we all call ourselves like relatives. And I think we all become cousins. We say to our Swedish people, this is my cousin, this is my cousin, this is my cousin. We're not even related, but I think that to share that common ground about we come from, our roots are in Uganda, but we grew up here, it gives us a way of belonging. And it gave us that brotherhood that maybe we shouldn't have if our parents did the effort of try to connect us. And we want now to do it with our kids, the third generation. So I think that's very, very important for us to have a belonging and try to connect with each other, with people that maybe are from another country, move here. Because yes, even in Sweden, even the Swedish people feeling very loneliness in their own country, because the society are built that way. And I think that us coming from a different culture, a different society, that we always are with people. I can live in a house, my aunts, my grandma, my daddy, everybody lives in the same neighborhood. So I think it's very, very important, because it helps a lot. Because I know that even Swedish people can feel very lonely.
Oh, you're right. Thank you very much, Brother Fahad. So back to Brother Edward, who commented about this topic. He said the loneliness, which is true. So for me, I would say involve yourself into the community and be selective who you meet, because some of us we may be toxic, others we may be very okay. So try to be also a little bit sensitive who you meet. But that very many, when in the era of social media, all those platforms that can be, resourceful, they can also be available, and then chip in. You never know, that loneliness can jump away from you, and then you get that sense of belonging. So don't die.
I also think, sorry for just one thing, I also think that it's so important to know that meet people live, to meet people, because we can get deluded or tricked by the social media that we have a platform, but we sit in a lonely home and go to work. You have to meet people, to integrate with people live. I think that's very important.
It's true. That's really interesting. On another platform where I'm involved, we always have a theme which says sharing is caring. So need be, we should always keep sharing with our friends and then try to check on ourselves. Once, some time back, I had a friend who used to tell me, hey, Smoke, at least call me one day, once in a while. You don't know what I'm going through, which can be true on the other way around. People are really down and we can't tell. Before we go for a little commercial break, I just also want to involve two questions.
Can I say something?
Please.
Sorry, I was raising my hand, but it was invisible. I just wanted to add on what Mr. Fahad mentioned regarding the gentleman's comment about feeling alone. I would like to call upon the Ugandan community, especially here in Norway, to be more accommodating to those people who are new to. Because I see there is a difference with how the Kenyans are doing it. Because like with the Kenyan Union, they have like a network which catches those who are new, and then have a way of welcoming them in and having and then maybe the Uganda society already have it, and I don't know about that. But I feel that if so, I would like to call upon them to be more accommodating, because there is also a lot of discrimination among ourselves, whereby we discriminate according to how the others are or where they come from, and even their social status, which is so wrong.
Which is true, yeah. Okay, this also gives a credit to the Ugandans in Denmark, mostly those in the Ugandan Cranes Denmark. They've really done a great work to engage all people, the teenagers and the youth, such that, they have that kind of sense of belonging, a gathering where, people stress off and maybe they feel there is some bit of revamp away from what they used to feel, those bad thoughts. Actually, also the element of in the spiritual world, those who are having Ugandan or African churches, they're also doing a great work. On the Euro platform, we have a service which also helps. The more you associate yourself with God, and then the people you are, church is all about the people you are with. So I think also that kind of element can help you, because they may not be so discriminative as we think. So it can be also a solution to have that sense of belonging. And before we go to a commercial break, I'll just start with you again with a simple question. As women, why is it that women actually tend to go over it more than men, as in depression? Is it because they talk too much? Because in general, you find that women, they overtalk more than men, and they overexpress themselves. We call it sometimes gossiping, I don't know. But how come, they tend to get over it more than the gender? Does depression affect us? It hit us differently according to our genders? Or why is it that women get over it very fast?
Interesting that you point those issues, because with the teenagers, we can see, at least in Sweden, that boys tend to get more help, tend to be more aggressive, tend to express themselves in fighting, and tend to get maybe diagnosed with depression. And girls, because girls are supposed not to express themselves, they're supposed to be so good, and they're supposed to enjoy the feelings. And that's interesting, because with teenagers, it's exactly the opposite.
Wow. What's your take, Madam Reese, about that?
Well, I would say that with women, we are meant to be the ones that can content the most.
Okay.
We're meant to be the ones that should be managing. We should be managing the homes. We should be managing everything. We should be having everything working. So I feel like it's like a coping, that it's very easy, though there are many women also who are suffering with depression, but it's a coping mechanism that makes us help us to the days to go, because there is a way that we are supposed to be in society. Expectation. We must have the good homes. We must have the functioning children. So what will they call it? We will
Okay. You tend to know.
we can coat it We can also quote it, yeah.
Yeah. But inside you totally dying.
Yeah, but bottom line, depression is real. But then still, there is a difference between depression and dealing with problems and dealing with life challenges. I'll still want to be clear on that, because just because you have a lot of things that are going through or are going on in your life doesn't necessarily mean that you have a depression. Because some people, the way that they're coping with life, because we've had successful people, even like professional football players and professional athletes that say that the activities that they're doing, they're the ones that are helping them cope. And then if the next person or even us who see them on television, we cannot see or we cannot realize that they have been really going through a hard time. But when they're running or when they're doing an activity, it helps their mind to focus on something else and on the real problems that they're going through.
I would like to ask you the same question that I tried to ask Brother Fahad when before we joined into before we broadcasted live. How come that the natives here in Europe, in terms of the race, we the foreigners, we tend not to be totally hit? Do we have just a hard skin, or are we? I mean, the question is, why is it that the natives are really totally hit as compared to we the foreigners? Are we just born with a hard skin? We cannot just take it, just we can easily maneuver through it, or what's your take on that? Question is.
I think actually that I don't think that it's about. I think it's I have two answers. The first answer is first of all is that I think that the foreigners who come here, they have a lot of expectation back home. They maybe don't have the time to feel how they are going through. Maybe you come here, you have two children, the children must go into the society, and then you have your relatives at home that when you move here, automatically the relatives at home, they see you have succeeded. They will never understand what you're going through here. They will think you are in the diaspora, everything for you, it's good. And that issue can maybe cause you that you don't want to speak about your problems. You don't want to address them. You don't want to feel about them. Just go on and go on and go on. But if you see that you see about the diseases like diabetics, like the physical deficiencies people in the 60s or 70s that moved here have, compared to the natives, like diabetes is much higher, because when you don't address the mental issue, it affects your physical body. I think that's one. The other one is that because of we in our society in Uganda, we don't have so much talk about depression. We don't have the access. We don't have the help. The people who grew up in another country, because of they don't have that, is very, 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 they don't speak about it, because here at the age, even if you're a child, you can have help for your depression. Compare it, Sweden, Norway, Denmark or Finland, that children can get help about depression. Compare that to Uganda. There is no children that I know of that could go to a facility or talk to a psychiatrist to address the issue about mental illness or depression. And then when you grow up in that society, you move here, you don't have that in the culture. You don't have that in the culture at all. So I think that's the two answers. I think that I don't think we are more hard-skinned. I think just that we are afraid to speak about it, and I think that we try to pretend that there is no such problem.
Okay. So, Madam Ruiz, as we're going a break, would like also to hear your take on this. Does the system here in Europe actually also of a great use to us in solving this element of depression, or it just cause depression element? Because time here is really essential, and then you always work home, the systems we're living in, because I really believe that Denmark system or European system is more so like the US, where you may not be having time as compared to where we come from. We have a lot of time. Sometimes even government doesn't know whereabouts, but here it's very hard for government not to know where you are, where you're hiding. So there's a system. Is there in a way that system can also affect you?
I don't know about that, but I'll concur with Mr. Fahad about the fact of owning this and being open about this, because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to see others to see how we are and how and what we're going through. And maybe they'll talk about us, they'll judge us, but also people are too busy because they want to fit in, and then that helps them to have little time to worry about whatever they're going through, because they really have to earn that money, because even the time that they're spending at home is very little. But then also you can see that the rate of the depressed people, especially in old people, maybe they've retired and stuff. That's where the cases are more, because now they're not working anymore. So what else? And then also something very interesting is that especially Africans and especially Ugandans, because I was on a conference 3 days ago, whereby it was an arena for people or organization which help people, or people can just go there, like it's a voluntary organization, and then it's free, you don't have to pay anything. And then I didn't see anything like Ugandans, because it's not about the statistic. There was nothing like that. Ugandans were part of it, that they were asking for help, or maybe they needed help to cope with the family issues, to cope with the health issues, and then you could see that other countries were represented. So there is also a very big stigma when it comes to come to our people.
Okay. Well, as for now, we shall be having a short break, then we shall be coming back. But for now, I just want to let you know that take depression as something very essential, and it's really so issue, or mostly for us, the Afro-Pins, or entirely all the foreigners who just come into Europe or any other country, where actually that becomes your second home because of the different encounters you tend to face, or the different challenges. You may end up into depression. But the question is, how would you encounter such a challenge, and how can you be of use to any other person who is really facing such problems? Let's have a short break, and then we shall be coming back.
And then this is repeated. And then here we're doing with medicine, dealing with medication, we're dealing with sick people who are already sick. So it has been, yeah. And at times we just maybe call the taxi and then for the person then to go home and sleep before alerting the boss. But most of the times that is not a reason to get fired, because here in Norway, you're not fired because you're mentally ill. Or you're not fired because you have issues affecting your problem. They'll first try to help you. And then also you have to be willing to accept that help. Because if you're not willing to take, because here there is something called like free will. It's a free will. Getting help here in Norway or getting medication, it's a free will. Nobody forces you unless you are a risk to yourself or others. So, yeah.
Okay, then, Brother Fahad, on the same issue, how in Sweden, how do you deal with work issues with depression? Because some years back, I had one of our employees we're working with. She happened to get a depression, and actually, I looked at it as something funny. They said it's a sick leave for almost 3 months. And for me, it was quite challenging. I was like, wow, what kind of system is this? And they said, yeah, because she wasn't fired, but they let her be because she could not execute. So in Sweden, how do you deal with this? How do employers deal with employees who are really affected? Or in any case, if you are the employer, Mr. Fahad, how do you deal with such a situation where you feel that your employee is in such a situation?
Yes, interesting that you mentioned it, because I am an employer and I have employees at my company. And the thing is, fortunately, I haven't been dealing with someone with mental issues so far, but as an employer, by law, I have to make sure that they get the right help, because you cannot punish a person for having a mental illness. Mental illness, mental issues or depression comes with the circumstances of life. As an employer, I have to make sure that that person gets the right help, that they can be away from work and they come back. And then we have something that we call, I don't know if I can spell it we call it in Swedish, arbetsträna, to try to work and try to get back. Maybe he or she has been gone for 2 months to get right help. As an employer, I have to make sure that you get the help. I offer the help, and maybe she accept the help or he accept the help. And then when he had maybe someone to talk to, and then when that person is trying to get back to work, you have to successfully getting not full time, maybe once in a week, and then come back, and then we have these conversations to make sure that the person can do the job, and that's by law. And because here, at least in Europe, I should say, the most place that you can find that person had maybe depression or something, because maybe not everybody try to speak up, or maybe some people have problem with alcoholism or something, it's at work. Why is that person missing work? Why that person doesn't perform the work that he or she has been doing before? And me as an employer, I have to make sure that the person gets the right help, because you cannot punish someone because they have depression. If depression happens because circumstances of life.
Yes, still with the element of, because you said bringing them back to work, you have to take some baby steps.
Yes.
So that they can fully be equipped with that energy, and then they get back on the rail. Do you have, at your workplace, do you see yourself involving your employers in such discussions?
Yes, because we work with people. We don't work with like we sit in a cashier and people. We work with people, and then we have to have another expert from outside to bring in once in a month to speak to our working place. How is everything going? What is the issue? What can we do? Because that person should not be from work. It will be someone outside.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a month, we have to, and every employee has to be there, so we can have. And if someone brings up an issue, then it's my duty as an employer to make sure, okay, maybe that one has a problem. He or she was recently divorced, or something happened, or a relative died, and it's my responsibility as an employer to make sure that that person can get the right help so they can focus on job when they are on the work. So yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sister Reese, you had a take on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on regarding what Mr. Fahad is saying, because there is also this, that first it also has to be cleared if these issues are work related or not. If it is work related, then it's also dealt with differently, because it's dealt in, it also has an own organ whereby then all the workers have to be dealt with if it's work related. Yeah. And I suppose it's also the same maybe in Sweden too, isn't it, Mr. Fahad?
Yeah. Okay, that's quite interesting. We're dealing with an issue which is a mental, actually. Sometimes I can say it's emotional. It can be, to some extreme, it can be physical, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Or maybe it can be something which is a thought element. When I'm talking about emotional, it can bring, sadness, anger, it can bring some a bit of hopelessness. You feel you're hopeless, actually. We're talking about something which is physical. I'm trying to look at depression in the line of social withdrawal. You've been social, then you tend to withdraw. We're looking at physical, where you lose energy, you yourself. You're looking at depression, where self-motivation is really running away from you. You're not motivated. Poor concentration, maybe at work, even at work, you're delaying decision-making. I'm looking at sleep problems. I heard some people, they've been commenting, saying that it can be also a sleep element. Appetite losing, it can be also physical. And I'm looking, when it comes to thoughts, we are looking at issues connected with poor self-esteem. Some people go to that extent, actually. We're looking at people going extreme of going suicide and losing a lot of interest. Why am I talking about this? Because these are issues people are really facing. As a moderator, it's good to also give you some little bit of personal experience I'm trying to see in different angles of different people. We had a simple discussion with, my brother Moses. It makes me laugh most of the times. He said, the topic you're going to really deal with, is there any way mental games can be of service? For example, you heal. We've seen people dealing with puzzles in newspapers. They deal with puzzles. Is there any way they can be of service? I just want to play chess, draft. Mental games. Are they of any use in such a situation?
Yeah, I would say so. And yeah, because it is an activity. Any activity that takes you away from the walls of your brain.
Oh yeah.
Yes, as long they are. It's a kind of brain activity. It could be even as easy as Ludo, or as easy as any game.
Also be as easy as just to make you make a daily routine that every day at 2:00 I will play the chess, just to have routine that you repeatedly do every day, and then maybe for 3 weeks you add another thing. Okay, between 2 and 3 I will play chess, and then at 4:00 I'll go out for a walk. That you can have everyday routine. It's very helpful.
Wow, that's really amazing. So to my brother Moses in absentia, that's a message back to you. If you feel down yourself, the online Ludo you can play that. Involve yourself in such activities. Actually, it's quite interesting. It's a big topic, not worth completion today, but maybe we shall give it more series to talk about other sensitive issues. Because if it goes ahead of You mentioned about issues connected to drug abuse and alcohol. I mean, that would be maybe the side effects of it. Some people resort to that. So how can we help them to come back on the layering again? So depression, I'll say it's a wow topic to discuss. But here we have a situation. I don't know, a bipolar person. Can depression lead someone into going into bipolar, or one is born with that problem?
No, for me, I have not experienced that someone is born with that kind of issue. Me, in my experience, I have experienced people that become diagnosed with bipolar later on in life because of circumstances in life. I have not experienced that, so I don't believe so. No.
Okay. My sister is. What's your light on that? Can depression lead someone into bipolar, or it's the other way around?
Well, I'll just add to what Mr. Fahad said, and a person who has bipolar already can have depression.
Then that will be worse. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this comes into another situation now, because talking about bipolar, and now it comes to people who are now extroverts and introverts. In issues connected to depression, we having, in general, we always have people who are extroverts and the introverts. Who of the two can easily jump out of this situation of depression?
You can be surprised. That one I will just say you can be surprised, because with depression, it can take the best of the best. You can even see psychotherapists, psychiatrists having depression too. This one, it can take the best of the best. So nobody is safe here. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was just going to say that, because it's very common that people think that people are introverts become depressed, but no, anyone can be depressed, and it can look in another way. People that are extremely aggressive, extremely trying to start a fight, and aggressive can also be depressed. More depressed than people who are very quiet and calm. So it's you cannot see it because about how if people are introvert or extroverts.
So how for example, right now I've been having some talks with people who are working in the mental hospitals, of which those who are trying, the doctors themselves, they tend to give themselves a break away from their profession. What I'm trying to mean, can a mental problem, can it actually affect one you're trying to help? I mean, can you get affected with a sick person? For example, you have mental issues. Say, for example, depression. Would a depressed person drag you into that line if you give in fully?
Yeah, I think they say in Swedish, they say a psychiatrist's house have a psycholog.
That's what
has a psycholog.
Yeah.
Yes, and it means that even when you work with people, you have to also have someone to talk to about the issues, so you cannot be affected. So that's very, very important when you work with people who have issues, that you have someone that is not involved in your work, that you talk to about the situation and the issues and how you deal with them, how they make you feel, because you're only human. Maybe someone is giving you a life story that affects you very, very much. And then to be professional, you have to address it and to tell someone else that this is how I felt, so we can deal with it. Otherwise, it will affect you. And maybe later on in life, it can give you a depression. That happens.
Okay. Sister Rizwa, what's your take on this? Would you be deprived? Would it be affecting? Would it affect you?
Yeah. In addition to what Mr. Fahad says, I would say that we're all humans, and all together we are just flesh and feelings and emotions and wherever. But also when one is being trained or through school, you get to learn some skills or even just when you're being taught of the first days of training at work, how to cope with these things and how to learn to live whatever is at work, and you leave it there when you go home. But then we are different because some of us can also have gone through some trauma, that whatever these people are going through, it can wake those trauma within us. And in such cases, it's not even easy to observe or to see, because a person who is working with the person who is sick, they cannot be real about it and say, but they can say that maybe they can talk to a leader and say that whatever this person is going through, I would like to be excluded, so I can work with another patient because the case is so close, or maybe so close to something they have experienced. And then that one is a way of preventing for them to go, to awaken their trauma.
And I learned when I did my education in this profession, I learned that it's very good that because we work with people and something, in your free time you do something completely different just to let work go, because there are times that you come home and you think about maybe a person or a patient or something that affects you, and you try to help, but you're only human. You have feelings, you have a life, so you have to do. They gave us the advice that when you work with this as a profession, you have to, on your free time, you have to do something completely, a hobby that's very completely different from what you work with.
Oh yeah. Wow, it's what I'm just enjoying the education you're just trying to give us in different spheres. Actually, it's really so nice. I love how you deal with your employees, the way you said it. Actually, how you try to involve, how this other remit, how you really think you would love to deal with them in situations like that. Let's look at remedies of how to change environment. Say, for example, I've seen very many Africans or foreigners basically looking at giving themselves holiday back home to change the mindset as a solution. Or some people tend to tell them that, hey, please, can you try maybe go in a joking way, can you try and visit your ancestors and get a connection with them? I don't know whether it can be of service, but is there any way some holidays we tend to take help to deal with the pressure, and then we have some mindset? And would you recommend someone to change environment?
I would recommend, of course, I would recommend someone. But the problem is now we have for us, when we go back home, I can only speak for me, myself. We go back home just to relax, but when you go back home to Uganda, you don't relax. You have that's the truth. And then when you come back from that holiday, you're sometimes even more tired than when you went, because there are so many issues to deal with. There are so many people that need you. You should go and just change the environment by yourself, maybe with your family, and just relax. And you cannot go back home and not tell anyone, now I'm coming home to visit, because that's impossible. That's why most people maybe go to other countries just to enjoy on that holiday. Because yes, I highly recommend that, because sometimes you just have to change the environment to refresh your batteries, to have time to reflect on any issues and just refresh.
Yeah, if I got you correctly, when you mentioned visiting the ancestors, we would regard it in matters whereby somebody says that things are not going well, and they're like, because these are customs and rituals that we're grown up with. And as long as you have a belief in them that they work, so that is how they work. So for somebody who really believes in that, then of course they really have to go home and maybe, they wash or they cleanse and wherever. And then of course, because they really believe that, because it's about what you believe, because what you believe you become. So when you believe that, it happens. But change of environment, as Mr. Fahad says, is very important. But But here you are talking about somebody who is already depressed. There are things that have to be really worked on first before you even think about changing environment. But changing environment, it could be something like leaving a hostile home or living a hostile environment, being part of a criminal. It could be as little as that. And then for us, I believe, because my children, they're the ones who made me aware that, Mama, you need to understand that when we go to Uganda, we're not going on holiday, we are going home. Then, well, trace some alarms, that's then that is not vacation. When we are going to Uganda, it is home. And then if we really want to go to vacation, we have to go somewhere else. And then we also like to call upon that we don't have to see that taking a flight and going to the beaches, that should be vacation. It could be just a change, just going to the next town. Most of the people are working a lot, but they're having so little time to enjoy the money. Or even they're not even enjoying the money because they're not seeing it. Go to the next town, go to a hotel, just enjoy, just a night or two.
I think that's where they actually, if I can say it myself, that the European are better than us, because sometimes they just go away for a long weekend, just for take the Friday off and they go to another town just to enjoy, and they do the small things, or they enjoy. Here in Sweden, when the winter is coming, most of us, we are stuck at home. We're staying home. They go out. They do some winter activities just to make sure that they're feeling alive. That I think that they're better than us in that sense, actually.
And then also I have some friends who could decide to keep away the phone, maybe like a weekend. They leave the phone at home, and then they go away for a weekend. And I don't know many people who will do that. Personally, I don't know, because I always have the phone where I can reach it.
Oh, okay. It's very interesting. I just love the way you chip in here. Then, we give different ideas. Some time back, I had a friend who was just saying, you'll never know why men love to stay a bit longer at work or pass by, the bars before they reach back home. Should we claim it's maybe at times a pressure home, or it's another remedy to run away from such situations? What?
That's a very complex question, actually, because I don't know. Sometimes there are people that enjoy what they do for a living. Sometimes they know what they do, and there are people that maybe escape because they're hostile environment at home. That's I don't know. I don't have a great answer to that, but I think it could be both.
For me, I would say that it takes two, because whatever situation you are running away from, it could be that you have to be part of the situation that caused that, and also for the solution, you have to be part of the solution. If you really one day you'll want to go back to that home, and then in some way, I like how life is here in Europe, because there is a commitment whereby you have in a home, whereby it makes it so difficult for you to stay out all night so often. You cannot do it so often. You have a commitment either to the family or to your work or wherever, that it has to keep you accountable most of the time.
A commitment by will, or it's just a king in jail? You have no choice. You have no choice, because if you're out all night, you'll have to wake up at 7. Sooner or later, this will not be your home, for example. Sooner or later, the children will not recognize you. Sooner or later, somebody will tell about the children that the children are being abused or wherever. So one has to weigh what is one willing to lose, because I know of many homes, like where I grew up, it was very easy to see that men were coming back at 5 in the morning. They are knocking at the door. But also it is different, because most of the people, not all, but many people have their children in boarding schools. Most of the couples, they don't eat breakfast together, they don't eat dinner together, they don't eat lunch together. Somebody's just coming home to sleep. And for them, they're fine with that, because the woman is doing their own thing and the man is doing their own thing. So some things work for others. But in a society like this, it can be a very big challenge. Yes, that's why I'm saying that when we try to correlate between the two, family lifestyle in Europe or maybe abroad, or let's talk about the US, and when you try to correlate between the two and family back home, which one really feels can bring more pressure? I mean, which can bring one into that line of going to depression? Isn't it Europe? Or way back home where we come from?
I would say so, but the sad thing about home is that if you're really going through a depression, it is very rare to get help because you'll be called names that even will make your situation worse, or even be called things that will make even you want to cope up more. So it is either this way or that way. I don't know your take on that.
Yes, I think the pressure. Because here it's more acceptable to have a depression, and here you can have help, and you can even explain even to your boss that I have a depression.
Oh yeah.
But back home you cannot do that because, like Rizk was pointing on, they will call you things. They will start not only you, maybe they will call your children things. You are the son or the daughter of the crazy man and something, and it doesn't only affect you; it can affect your children because your children start in a different way, and that's terrible, actually.
Actually, I love that because one thing I've really known in Africa, men are supposed to be superhuman, the shock absorbers of all situations. And we look at depression as a myth. It's really rare. It's really rare to hear depression or that, okay, I'm depressed way back home. Yet in reality here, like the way you say it, we have to talk about it. We have to say it loud. And then we're all humans, I think, no matter our gender. And that gives a lot of sense that actually there better way of how to deal with it here in Europe more than the other side because of some of maybe stereotype of being a man is a man. You are the shock absorber for everything. Yet in turn, we tend to really face a lot. Now let's just drive a little bit into a certain gear and look at, we're looking at the ongoing nudity on social media. We're looking at a lot of nudes. We sing a lot of, sex tapes. What are these people looking for? Are people depressed to the extent of going nuts? People going on social media when they're drunk and then they just activate themselves and then speaking all the, the nonsense. Should we look at that one as lacking a sense of belonging somewhere? Are they looking for attention? Is there in a way people who are depressed go nuts to the extent that they will do whatever it costs to look for attention as a remedy? Why are we having all this social media nudity?
I think the first issue that us as a humankind, we need confirmation. We need confirmation in all sense because we are people that should live together. We're not people. We're not like other animals that live isolated. We socialize and we need confirmation. And sadly, in social media, you get so much confirmation. If I write a status on Facebook, maybe I say a quote that's very, very good, or I take the perfect picture on Instagram. I don't even remember what I wrote. I just look how many likes, how many views, and that thing gives me a false confirmation. And then when I maybe try to get going into a depression or have a depression, and I feel alone, I feel lonely, the best way to get a confirmation is on social media. And I think that bar has been raised over the years, over and over again. And sadly, on social media now, there are so many things that can get you false confirmation, and sometimes it can help you even financially. And that's very, very, very sad because that issue gives you, you get a confirmation, and sometimes it helps you financially, and that raises the bar. And you see now it's too much. It's too much. And if someone like me suffering from depression and I don't see that I get the confirmation that I think I need, the social media is the best way to make the whole world see me in a very, very wrong way.
Yes, back to you, Lady Risk. How do you take this, the nudity going on, the nudity waves, sex tapes, people coming up, on social media with all nasty behaviors, and then, they just air them without any, they're just doing whatever they want at any cost. Are they seeking for attention or as a remedy to fight a depression?
Just to add on what Mr. Fahad said, it's more of attention, and also with nudity, it has always been there. Even before the internet, before the Facebook or wherever, there was this, there were the films, sex films, there were these magazines, even they're still there. But then the attention was different. But here it's about the likes. And also social media goes as far as even paying people who have more likes or more followers or wherever. But a person, there is also different kind of mental disorders. But a person who is really depressed wouldn't, unless it has with alcohol depression, wouldn't go, for example, on Facebook. They are so low that they have nothing to do there. Then it will be regarding other kind of disorders, because there are very many disorders. It's not only depression that is out there.
Okay, it's quite interesting because I've just seen too much people really post about depression. Others come in to attack those who do certain things, and then they claim that, hey, someone I think is depressed. Look at the way they, the more active they are on social media. Maybe they're lacking what to do. Maybe they're calling for attention because people are really sick. Please.
Yeah, because when somebody is dealing with that depression, they're hurting inside.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's not only about the feelings, the emotions. They have some pain, some hurt, and that's why Mr. Fahad mentioned earlier that some, to cope with it, they take some medication, and then that one turns up into an addiction with time. And then when you are depressed, and at the same time you're affected with the drugs, what they do with you, because they put in you in another mode, then you cannot, you're not accountable for whatever you're doing, although you can be accountable for them regarding the law, wherever, but you don't remember nothing. Because when you're doing those things, it's not you. You're being driven by the drugs or whatever mood that you're in at that particular moment.
Okay. Like last time we talked about employment issues. Is there a moment I can claim that the work environment can be a solution at some time? Say, for example, I have issues at home, maybe with my kids, my family. Is there any way the work environment can be also a remedy that if I'm not at work, maybe it will affect me?
Yes, I think sometimes that's when you have issues at home, coming to work is a relief. But you're like Madame Risk said, you're also out accountability for what you do. So you cannot always escape from feeling that relief at work, because one way or another, the society, the system tells you that you have to go home. You have children, you have a responsibility. You cannot disappear for 2 or 3 days. You have to deal with it. So sometimes it's a relief, but it's not the solution to the problem. I think that you have to try to deal with this. You have to deal with the problem, and if you can deal with it, you have to speak about it, speak up on it, and maybe see where you can get help to resolve the issue with the children or whatever it is. It can be a relief, but I don't think it's the answer or it's the right way.
Well, that's really nice. Yeah, continue.
I totally agree.
Okay, that's amazing. Oh, well, someone saying you're all amazing. You're doing really good executing this topic, even though it's a wide topic. Someone, Nelson says, thanks, moderator. Yeah, actually, I really appreciate. Just looking at this situation of work element away from depression. this is something else away from our topic of today, where I'm asking, why is it that we have a lot of Swedish doctors and engineers running straight to Norway, more than many Norwegian doctors and engineers coming to Sweden? Please do me a favor. What's the issue about this? It's just the statistics showing that.
Yeah, and sorry, your take, Mr. Fahad. Yeah.
Yes, this Norway has a higher standard in living, in both living and in payment, salary, and the work you do is in Sweden give you this amount of salary, but you do the same work, it give you a higher amount of salary. So I think that's the main issue, actually.
Because actually, that's not very far away from the people we see here in Denmark. There's that city called Malmö, closer to Copenhagen city. Very many Swedish are from Malmö. They come, they work here, and they go back.
Yes,
it's quite interesting. Rizk, what's your take on that? Why are you accepting these Swedish men, engineers and doctors, into your country?
Unfortunately, they're taking our jobs. It is very true.
Why are you so lazy?
But because not only do we have to struggle with understanding whatever they are saying, although because there is this thing that Scandinavian languages, they understand each other, but it's
intertwined.
You really have to be attentive to understand Swedish. I feel Danish is more easier to understand than Swedish.
It's quite interesting. So you prefer Danish to run to your place more than the Swedish?
No, they should leave our jobs so that we can also have room for the others to have the education. But also, it's also good that these jobs that people are getting opportunities, that we can also be able to work across the borders. It's good. It's good for me to know that when I go to Denmark, I can always get a job, and when I come to Sweden, I can always get a job.
But if I have to give back that question. Every time someone from Norway come here, go to the grocery shop, they shop to take back.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is very true, yeah, because the food is much cheaper in Sweden.
Well, it takes two to tango. I just love that. The other side of it. Anyway, back to the question of back to our question of depression. Yes, you've really done a great work, a tremendous work of executing it in your way or your perspective, in your way, worldview of looking at issues of depression. And I humbly really appreciate that. Time has really gone. We're having only 6 minutes to go, and then we shall be closing. But we really appreciate those who have involved into this discussion. People being on Facebook, those who are on YouTube. You're really doing a great work. We can also divert you, also come in TikTok. We're doing a great work to get more feedback on this issue. You can always leave your questions around, and then we go into in the next session about depression. And next coming week, I think, if not next week, it will be another week where we shall be having the same discussion with some other people in the Luganda version. That's when I have to say regards to my brother in Netherlands. I'm forgetting the name, but he knows himself, the one I was with last time. Godwin, yeah? No, not Godwin. I'm forgetting them, but I really appreciate the last time we had a talk here, and then all those involved into this brother, it's called Brother Bruno.
Mr. Bruno.
Yeah. Bruno, yeah. I love the way he involved in this. We shall also take that line in Luganda, and we see what's other people's perception towards depression and what do they feel. And it will be much more interesting the more we have people commenting and giving us their perception, their experience, or any other topic of discussion in that line you'd love us to involve in or to air or to discuss about. But for now, I really appreciate our guests. Any last word before we close, Mr. Fahad?
Yes, actually, I was thinking about the affection that as adults you have on your children. That the message I want to send to all the parents out there: do not
Mhm.
do not put your issues on your children, because they will be more affected than you think. Like, for
Oh,
instance,
yeah, yeah.
if you have a marital problems, you should not.
Mhm.
If you have a marital problems and things are not going very well, you should not put that on your kids. Say like, I'm staying because of you. I'm staying with my wife or my husband because of you. Or
Mhm.
if something bad is at work, you should not put it on your children. You should not put your issues on your children, because the children, they digest everything and then start to maybe some trauma, and then when they become teenagers or adults, they will also become depressed. That's a very, very, very important thing I want to speak up to all the parents.
Wow,
Children see,
that's
children
great.
hears, children knows, even their children.
Mhm.
And your problem or
Oh,
your problem, you should always put your children away from the
oh,
problems.
okay, that's really interesting. Reza, you had what you said. We parents, we have to be the sacrifice, or we should take our own cross so that it doesn't really affect our generation. Because, like you said, this depression can affect even the young ones. So, what's your take as you summarize in general,
Uh,
Madam Reese?
Um,
In
like you
in
said,
general,
it
in
says,
hmm.
it is okay not to be okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we should, I'm calling upon everybody to be each other's keeper and each other's closest friend. Because as I started earlier and say that even a smile can make a difference. Because it's very
True,
easy.
true.
We don't have to dig in people's problems. And then we also have to accept that we are actually different. We are not all initiators, because there are some people who are so creative, and not everybody is an initiator, but we should be also those that can help others to come along. And if you see somebody that is not doing well, ensure that not only are you a friend or can you be a friend, but you should also say that if they cannot talk to you, they should talk to somebody else. Because there is a lot of stigma around this mental illness or mental disorder. There is a lot of stigma because even when you're going through it, you think that whoever is looking at you maybe knows what you're going through, and this could be
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it could even be family issues. It could be if whatever issues there are. But I just want to say that there is help to get. And I'm very happy to be part of this platform because it's giving us an opportunity to create awareness.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on this, but I have an experience in this, and I'm working with this every day, and I'm dealing with people. And this is something that can take anybody down.
Who am I not to be thankful for the guest we've really tried to have today, sitting in for my brother Moses, who is on Father's Day holiday. It's quite amazing. Norwegian, you have a lot to explain, but what to do? Yeah, this is a platform where, it gives opportunities. Like Brother Fahad said, let's keep on talking about issues like this. It really gives a lot of sense. And truth be told, I'm seeing Brother Moses Mugisha somewhere hiding in his father mode. He's saying, great moderation, brother. Oh, that was really amazing. But for now, I just want to say one little word that all stakeholders in our communities, parents, government, please try to play a role. Religious leaders, whenever need be, we need a sense of belonging. Try to call upon people and then preach the word according to what is happening, to the problems happening. Not only money element that you need money, but let's talk about issues at hand, and depression is a key role here in the Afropins. But we would like to thank our sponsors. They're really doing a great work, and we truly appreciate. But as for now, allow us to say thank you for involving into this discussion. We shall push it ahead more and more. We have different series, and we shall take some into Uganda. And we appreciate whoever's commented. As for now, I stay AKA Smoggy, sitting in for Moses Mugisha. Bye for now. We appreciate.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, live streaming is stopped.
Katika tumile kumasi.